And in terms of your vision and talking about those frameworks and those principles and how that fits other ways, it's like, if that's not you having an abundance mindset, you applying that to everything else. You think about a seed, you think about it's something in you, it's planted that can grow more of you. Like, that's us, that's humans too. It's seeds inside of us, you plant it, and you grow
we were seeds,
right?
You know, because we were seeds, was in my womb.
Absolutely.
It came out, and then we had seeds.
Absolutely.
Same thing.
And it's the same thing with like you said, with food. And so having that understanding of just the world and the science behind it, like, that's not magical.
Navigating different worlds. We start right there.
Okay.
So you was talking about the power of understanding human psychology. You being background and being a therapist. When you talk about overstanding human psychology and how people make their decisions, like, what are some of those things that came to mind when you went into this chapter, and why has that helped you in life now, just understanding like the psychology stuff? You can take that from your background, but then also apply it in life and also business.
Gotcha. Well, I think throughout the stuff that we talk about and that I wrote about in there is understanding these universal principles and how they apply in different worlds, in different industries, and understanding the similarities, and understanding, like you say, in anything with business, it has to do with people. So of course, understanding what motivates people, what makes people tick, what people are interested in, what their goals are, what their needs are. All of those things are at the basis of business infrastructure, business negotiation. I mean, trying to create win-wins, like we talked about before. Good business is when you win and I win too. You know what I mean? It's a fair exchange. It's not just I get something and I figure out how to beat you over the head with it. Because even if I win, you're not gonna want to put yourself in that position too often. So a lot of times people may think they win by getting over on somebody, when really they don't understand the effects of that and how it's gonna cost them in the long run. Because if you make somebody feel a certain type of way, you get over on somebody, they may out of necessity have to do that deal, and they do it, but they're not gonna feel good about it. They're not gonna want to come back. You know what I mean? So understanding, those nuances and understanding people's needs and understanding how to create win-win situations, I think is a principle that can work across different industries. In terms of my background as a therapist, I mean, we could do a whole hour and a half, 2 hours about how that affected me. But I mean, I got my start in mental health and working with kids, right? And then I transitioned over time in growing my facility and then working with more adults. But I mean, at the root of that is just understanding, man, there's people out here dealing with all kind of stuff you can't imagine, right? And so just being grateful and thankful and understanding, like, I got my own problems. I had my own issues growing up. I got my own family problems. I got my own insecurities and thoughts and whatever. But when you start dealing with people who have a whole nother world and a whole nother life that, you might be exposed to, but have no awareness or firsthand experience of how deep certain stuff can go. It gives you a different level of insight, perspective, and appreciation for what your problems are and what your circumstances are, and allow you to be thankful. You know what I mean? In terms of, I think you started that with navigating worlds, and I mean, I think I answered that in terms of the principle piece, but the ability to navigate being a therapist and talking to people one-on-one and understanding people's perspective, and then taking that skill set and then applying it to business from a negotiation standpoint or from hiring an employee. I think, again, those principles are universal. And if you got a level of insight to understand, to listen, to care, have a level of empathy, then it definitely helps you navigate whatever world you're dealing in. When you say navigating different rooms, like, what's a situation for you that you feel like you need, or that I can, a specific question in terms of how I navigate versus something that you're trying to figure out how to navigate?
I think overall, there's like, you never want to be the person in the room that's the needs guy, right? Okay. So it's like, if, for example, if I was talking off camera about, people I got connected with, I've been more aware. I'm not fanning over these people, or I'm not like, but just being able to read the room and say, all right, what's the energy like?
Right.
I think I've gotten better, but I think the more you've been in more rooms like that than I have, so I guess maybe from where you started, we like, you know what? Like, do I shake this person's hand? Or like, what's the vibe? And being able to recognize it on spot, because I think when we get in certain areas, my feelers come on. I still want to, show love, especially somebody that, I follow on socials, and, I'm just, I'm, it's me.
Right.
And keep it that.
You don't want to be a fan in this situation. Man, you made an assumption that I've been in more of those rooms than you have, right? And I can't say for sure if I have or not, but based off of the people who you telling me you've recently met, I haven't been in those type of rooms here recently, and I can say that sometimes I'm too isolated, right? And I don't get out of my comfort zone, and I am in areas, and but I think what can help, I've been in situations where I meet somebody who I may see as somebody that I admire, but depending on the energy, you might speak. I think social media kind of puts it in a weird perspective, right? Because you don't want to seem like a fan, but if somebody has done something to help you or change your life, or you respect them, I also don't think it's nothing wrong with acknowledging in that and being straight up like, hey man, I respect what you're doing, I admire that. You know what I mean? Versus, you navigating it and you asking for something. Right? Because those are two different things. Like being a fan and, hey, I got this, I've been waiting to meet you so you can help me get this. Without, you know what I'm saying? You can help me with this.
We know those people.
That's a different level of, I'm fanning, but I'm also asking for something. And I also feel entitled to your time because I feel like I know you because I've seen you doing something. And you don't realize, like, they don't know you exist, right? But what I have found and what I try to be is, I understand people may view me a certain type of way. So I try to be open to, I understand people think they may know me in a certain type of way because they see me do something or they heard of me doing something. Or, you know what I mean? And I think it's a balance of, you don't want to be awkward, right? You don't want to be, hey man, can I take a picture? Can I? You know what I mean? But if it's in the flow and that's the vibe and that's what's going on, it ain't nothing wrong with showing a level of respect. And hey man, can I get a photo with you? I respect what you're doing, and that's the environment and the time for that. Cool. If he's sitting down with his family and you bump into him and it's not really that mode or that environment, then it can be a little awkward that you that's the first thing you go. But you could still give your flowers to show respect. You know what I mean? I think all of it comes down to you being you and being authentic. Not feeling like you too big to give another person, another man, they props, but also not giving those props with an expectation that if they don't respond the way that you expect them to respond, now you can go and be like, oh, he ain't even like, or he ain't cool. You know what I mean? I showed love, but he thought he was too good for me, or whatever. You get those vibes.
About that too.
You get that vibe from people, and it's like, nah, I'm who I am. I appreciate the compliment, but I think that goes back to, when you're dealing with confident people and successful people, one thing that they can master and balance is they don't get too high from the compliments and they don't get too low from the criticism, right? And so sometimes somebody can come give you a compliment, and if you don't immediately reciprocate it, or you don't immediately, you know what I mean? Then they feel like you wasn't receptive, or, oh, you played me, or you think you better than me. And it's like, nah, I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but ultimately, if you're not doing it for that, you don't get too high and you don't get too embraced with people overly complimenting you, right? But different people can read that wrong in different rooms. So I think the biggest thing is, again, it comes down to being authentic and not feel slighted by anything, but also not having too high of an expectation. And if you go in a room with figuring out how you can add value, how you can make connections, how you can connect to people, it may be a situation where you're like, hey, I don't have nothing I can offer you right now, but I can make an introduction from two people who I do know, and I think y'all respect each other, and I think y'all can do something, and then I can gain an opportunity in terms of bringing what I bring to the table from something y'all build together, right? There's a couple of people I can think of who I have in mind who have introduced me to certain people in rooms. I told you I've went to Texas and a couple of times and went to some networking events with some high level entrepreneurs and some professional athletes. And the guy that advised me to that, I respect him and appreciate him. And he ain't never looking for nothing, right? Now, if I build individual relationships with these people and there's a lane that he can come in and fit, I would naturally do that because I appreciate the introduction and it's mutual, right? I think sometimes with those relationships, it could be like, well, I'm not going to introduce you to such and such because y'all might go do something without me. You see what I'm saying? And you get people who, you know, they're planting seeds of doubt. They don't really, that love and that energy and that reciprocation is not really there because they feel like they're going to get left out. If you knew 19 Keys or you met 19 Keys and you knew Mike Rashid and they didn't know each other, right? But they two solid dudes who got the same type of energy. And you met this one and you met him and you're like, hey, I heard him talking about something that you know Mike Rashid is good at, but you scared to make the introduction because you like, well, shoot, if he don't know him, then I might can be in his role. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
It's so
scarcity.
Being open to introducing people and not feeling like it's a slight to you. Being willing to ask when it's the right time to ask, but with that ask, recognizing how you can present and add value and articulate how you can add value.
Right.
I mean, people who you may view as successful, a lot of them is trying to grow. You know what I mean? So if you got a real value proposition or something that you can add to what they're doing, they'll respect it and appreciate it. Whether it's you could take content off a line that they already doing, edit it and shoot it and send it to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you showing that you add value versus you showing up and saying, I can do this. And if you give me this, then I can show you. You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
It's so, you know, a lot of people do deal with a lot of bullshit though. And so it's hard to tell what's real, what somebody is just showing up saying they can do versus what they really done. And so, you know, if you can show them and do it and articulate it in a short period of time and show love and give flowers, you'll be surprised how many people are really down to earth and receptive of what it is that you have to say.
Right.
But you will run into some of those who think they better than everybody and don't got time to talk and they see what they can get and that's it. You know what I mean? But you got to put them in that category too. I did write on a situation where, I don't know if you read it yet, but I talk about how getting close to people can kind of dim your light, dim the light, right? So you may have this bigger than life image of somebody,
right?
And then when you meet them, you start to see that they flawed and human like everybody else, right? And so sometimes that can lead people to start to judge and be like, oh, he ain't really like this, or he did, you know what I mean? And you start to be overly critical as opposed to recognizing, especially if that's the path and the journey you're trying to take, to get to their level and just understand, hey, nah, they flawed and they human like everybody else, and look at that as a superpower that allows you to be flawed and not perfect in these situations, right? Sometimes people in the public light, you start to be overly critical and be like, bro, that's not realistic. You know what I mean? Just because they sitting down talking on camera, or they got millions of followers, or they're a professional athlete, don't mean they don't deal with the same stuff you deal with. And when you see that, recognizing that can give you the courage and, you know what I mean, the understanding to be like, all right, I can do that too. And I ain't got to wait till I become perfect to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there's the other side of, you built up this person so big in your mind, then you meet them and their shoes dirty and they got a booger in their nose and you like, oh, he ain't who I thought he was. I can't never respect him again. You know what I'm saying? And you'd be surprised, like, different people perceive that differently. You know what I mean? It's just more of a matter of who you gonna be. What was your intention when you went into the room? If you there really doing business and you really there offering that support to your guy, then the other people who are around can see that, feel if that's genuine, see if it's authentic, see how y'all treat each other, see if that's really love, or if you really there just to get something from him. Right. And those things may present opportunities when they need somebody to come in and film something. They saw how you handled them, how you went above and beyond, how it wasn't just transactional and it was genuine, and they want that kind of energy around. That naturally it comes and builds those relationships. Versus if you too overly trying to get with me, and I look at my man who brought me here, gave you an opportunity, and you low key, you ain't saying it, but you really like, man, I'm really trying to go to the next level, and I really want to. And it's like, hold on, bro. You low key indirectly disrespected the dude who got you in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you indirectly telling me you don't like the situation you in, and you trying to put that. So if a dude is in tune, he gonna be able to see through that and be like, okay, dude is here for opportunity. And again, it's nothing wrong with that. But if you presenting it like this is your man and you riding for him, but when he step away, you looking for the next opportunity and you willing to throw him under the bus to get it, that's gonna come through, and somebody else is gonna see that and be like, okay, well, that's how you gonna treat me in that situation. When you don't get what you want from me,
when you done with me,
right? Are you done with me? You gonna move on, and people can sense that. So I think for the type of rooms you discussed, those are the things that would come to mind in terms of how to navigate that. Just being genuine, being authentic, and letting the opportunities come. Be willing to introduce people who you think can add value to each other, and be confident in the value that you bring to the room. Perspective, right? So like, for example, Dylan, it was the guy that did a lot of shooting for us before, right? And so he's a white guy, cool, but he was around so much, he became a part of our family in terms of he got his own relationships with people. That's why he hadn't been shooting for a while with us, but he made it a point to come to Michaela's thing because they had their own relationship, right? And when he first came around, of course we didn't have a relationship because he was just getting there, right? But I got the kind of family vibe that nobody is gonna be treated like, oh, you just a camera dude. Right? You come in, my mama gonna be like, hey, you hungry? You want something to eat? Hey, y'all want this? My mama gonna offer that no matter what I told you to do. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not really telling you to do much because, again, depending on what we're doing, we want it to be organic. We want to shoot, but you are hired to do something, right? One of the things that, you know, again, what I just mentioned is I said sometimes people will be afraid that if y'all make the connection without me in the middle of it, y'all might do something without me, and then that leaves me out. That's an element of what it sounds like could possibly be at play, even if the other two people who are talking don't get that at all. You know what I mean? But then there could be the way that you handle something out of line, and then this person could come back to me and be like, hey, your boy was trying to, you see what I'm saying? But for me not to be there, I can't say which one it was. It's just more of you being aware of the possibilities in that, and then figuring out how to navigate that. If you supposed to be here with him, and he's the type of client that, hey, I hired you to be here, be seen, not heard. This is all about me. That might be his demeanor. That don't make him wrong. That may be what he need to do, and he there on the job and a mission. He done paid a whole lot of money for all of these people to be here. He got a short window to maximize it. He trying to get as much content that or relationships and conversation between him and somebody else. So what I'm describing, I don't even mean that as a criticism. I mean it as a person like you need to be aware of all of those variables and all of those factors to see how that could affect somebody and how they respond to it, right? But then it could also be, I want to be the center of attention, and I also don't want you getting too much spotlight for connections and relationships that I want. Right? Now, again, that's not me saying him because I don't know.
And it's not even him. He was saying other people.
Right. And he could be seeing in other people exactly what I'm describing. Right. And so they can be looking at it like, oh, that's not really your role. But again, I think for you, it comes down to being authentic, confident, and showing real love and letting your talent speak for itself and doing what you're supposed to do. And those opportunities are going to come. Right. I could be in a situation where I can downplay what I've done in certain situations to make other people comfortable. I've done that, right? I'm not saying that you should do that though, right? But there's times where you can have a level of power that you don't really have to show it.
That's what he was saying.
You see what I'm saying?
That was the exact word.
Yeah, and that's when you know you got it. Sometimes the power is in not showing it. You know what I'm saying? When you're trying to convince yourself that you got the power, it can come off to other people like you are selling, right? Versus just being and you in that environment. I've had situations where, and again, no disrespect to anybody particularly, but I've had situations with people in my family, with women in my family specifically, who they may observe something that they take as disrespectful and think that I should respond a certain type of way because they would respond emotionally to somebody disrespecting them or handling a situation. And I had to be in a position to explain to them, like, listen, if I'm controlling this or I have the final say or the decision making, I understand how that can make other people interact with me or be uncomfortable. Yeah. But me knowing that I can is enough in a lot of situations. I don't have to do it to prove that I can do it. I know I can do it. They know that I can do it. Right. That's enough in certain situations. So being comfortable with that and knowing, like, I know what I bring to the table. I know my talents are there. I know my skills are there. So I don't have to go around and flash it, right? I don't have to go around and tell everybody that I meet who I am, what my title is. My title will show based off of the impact and you seeing how I move in this situation when you interact. Or you like something that you seeing is dope and you see the vinyl on the table and then you naturally ask, well, who did this for you? And I'm standing over there in the corner and you say me. Mm-hmm. Versus he put it on the table and I pick it up like, yeah, I did this if you want. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And again, I'm not saying you did that. Yeah. I'm just saying those are the kind of situations that your power is definitely amplified when other people can speak it for you and your actions just demonstrate it as opposed to you going around selling it and telling people this is what I'm capable of, this is what I can do. But I'm also, just like we said before, it can sound hypocritical. Yeah. It's not, because you got to know when it's time to, hey, this is my one shot, this is my one introduction. I need to let you know what I do and what I'm capable of, and I need to speak it and be bold and put it in your face. But then there's other times where I'm navigating these rooms and emotions and eyes and different people's feelings, and where me just letting the work speak for itself is going to be more impactful and more valuable to the situation that you're in.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm at, is like the knowing. This is still on topic, what we're talking about, navigating these different worlds, because I'm in a high demand season of my life. You know, we was talking about food security. Everybody trying to do the food stuff. And not that they're trying to make a living off of it, they're trying to live and be like, I got everything I need. So then I'm getting more people asking me about, food, like, so yeah, I'm just looking at it in a way of, like you were saying, like finding a balance of, I'm not selling myself because I also do the work that I'm talking about. But then if you don't know me, this is our first time talking, it's kind of like, well, what do you do? Right. Without it saying it, you know what I'm saying? Right. So it's just kind of like.
So I think, man,
it's tough.
And I hate to beat up on social media because it has its place, but there is a level of, there's a world where if it didn't happen on social media, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? So, so now your social media becomes your business card. But if you're not the type of person to put everything on social media, then how would somebody know what you do unless you tell them? Mm-hmm. Right? And so the power of networking and the type of networking you want to do, there's a level of people at certain points, especially because they get introduced to so much bullshit and so many people playing and pretending. That the better way is to be introduced by somebody, right? So if somebody I respect come introduce you to me, I'm gonna take it way different than you just coming to do that, right? And I think that element kind of exists by the fact that you just there, because that is somewhat of an introduction and a cosign by the fact that you here with somebody who is enough in contact to get them to be there. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So that is kind of a warm introduction as opposed to a cold email or DM or phone call from somebody that don't know you. But in terms of how you break that barrier of getting close to actually doing something with them, it may take 3 or 4 of those introductions, right? Or 3 or 4 of those you around off of this relationship for me to see what it is. Or I get your number, I get your phone number, and then I'm on social media, I see it. You didn't have to tell me you just shot this video with such and such in California, New York last week, because you made this, we got this warm introduction from your partner. I follow you on social. I see all the stuff that you did over the last 3-4 months. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know he was doing all of this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it kind of take you by surprise as opposed to, I'm sitting down. I just got here off a long flight, and you sit down and you showing me all of your Instagram.
Yeah.
Immediately, it's not that you wrong for doing it. It's overwhelming because I'm sitting here like, bro, read the room. I just got off the plane. I just walked in. I'm tired. I'm here for you, man, to talk and network and show love. But you really want me to sit here and look at your iPhone for 30 minutes for you to show me everything that you ever done? Like, let that naturally happen, because if you don't, it's gonna have an adverse effect. It's not gonna be impressive in the moment, even if it is impressive on its own, just by how it was introduced to me. Yeah. Now that could be unfortunate because, but at the same time, what we talked about before, you attracting and not chasing, right? Being in a room is you able to attract that, right? Sitting down, hey, let me show you everything I did, turns into chasing. Yeah. Versus being that, what they want, what they see. He might have asked him, hey, who did your vinyl? This is dope. And he telling you it's magnified now because I was searching for it. You attracted that. Versus, hey, you see that right there? I did that, man. I could do. And it's like, bro, I wasn't even thinking about vinyl. Now it's at the wrong time. The time, even though I want it, not right now. You see what I'm saying? So you got to be able to read the room and have the timing and have the confidence that it is going to come to you or whatever you want, and put yourself in position to attract it.
All right. So that was good. So I just got to cut out a piece.
Talking specific.
I'll be like you. I'll be like, man.
You don't want it to come off no type of way.
Yeah, it's just like the context is everything, bro. This stuff is really like, people really get sensitive about this stuff. I know. And I just don't. Yeah, nah, bro, I ain't say none of that.
and I'm giving hypotheticals, but using his name as an example, and somebody else who done helped and put you in position to introduce you, like, nigga, don't use me as no example for no nigga to make, you know what I mean? So yeah, you gotta navigate it, but if you listen to it in its entirety, nobody should really be offended by it, because really what we're talking about is principles. Yeah. These principles apply no matter who the player is. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, you gotta be knowledgeable and respectful to your relationships to know if you do say somebody's name, it's no way they can't personalize it. You know what I'm saying? And you know,
why do you think so many, not to cut your wisdom, but why do you feel a lot of people have lost principles, man? Principles literally govern how we existed, and I see it declining more and more. You know what I mean? Especially with our people.
I think specifically, whether we talking about money, we talking about attention, we talking about whatever the currency is, I mean, people are willing to do whatever to get those things, right? And I mean, resources and money, it's not everything, but at least in that situation, it is important. It makes sense. Attention is something it's different, right? Attention and fame, like I believe in this world right now that a lot of people, if they could choose, they'd rather have the attention and fame over the resources and the money. And we are in a world where people have realized that they can turn attention into resources and currency and do good with it. And so we do live in an attention age in that way. But from a principle standpoint, it's like you still got to have a level of character of stuff you willing to do and stuff you not willing to do to get it. You know what I mean? I think everything being so focused on that kind of stuff and materialism has put people into, I want to be viewed a certain way and I'm willing to do whatever. And I don't really know how to do it. So any opportunity that you present me that looks like it could get me to that, I'm willing to do it without really questioning, you know, why, who I am, how does this fit into my moral code? How does this fit into my principles, how I was raised? I mean, some people wasn't raised with principles, right? So it's an assumption for me to think that your principles are mine if you wasn't raised the way that I was raised, right? I had family and parents and a dad and a mom and uncles and grandparents and godparents who raised me to view life a certain type of way, right? And so I have a level of, I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to disappoint the people who put certain values and principles in me. And so I operate and move with that in the back of my mind. You know what I mean? And I think that we need that back. I think it's a level of people ain't embarrassed or ashamed of nothing. You know what I mean? They just willing to do whatever. And if they could say it was cool, it got some likes or it made some money, they'll do whatever it takes to do that. I wasn't raised like that. And You know, I think putting out information and doing what we're doing to tell people that ain't the way to go is important, and it's on us to do some of that. We can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
But, you know, in terms of principles, it's certain stuff that I just won't do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's certain
Absolutely.
stuff that I just feel like it's right and wrong. And if I think it's the right thing to do, I'm gonna do it regardless if it's popular, regardless if it get attention, regardless if I lose money doing it. If I think it's the right thing, that's how I'm wired. That's how I'm gonna move.
Yeah. I think definitely. I know my grandma's transition, man. A lot of grandmas then, you know, versus now. Now some of them still alive,
Right.
But the majority of the ones, man, I just feel they had something different,
Right.
You know, and certain things I know I wouldn't do around them.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's permissible.
Yeah.
And the grandmas now is literally like our moms now, and
Right.
it's just kind of like, I don't know. It just like I know when stuff feels weird.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, nigga, my grandma was here. Well, I know I wouldn't be doing this. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it gets into this performative thing, whether it's for likes, attention, and I think if people have really our people, we have to value our own currency.
Yeah.
And I don't mean us as I'm talking about we are a currency. We're literally, you know, everybody wants to be like us, but we don't own our genius. Everybody else is managing it.
Right.
Blackface media, BT ain't even black on no more. You know what I'm saying? And so I think even, you know, doing this is honest because I know certain stuff that, not that I wouldn't put it out there, but perception thing. But some people be like, nah, take that and put it out there, and it's like, it kind of goes against what, you know, what we trying to do.
Right. I mean, you gotta have some rules. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You gotta have some kind of code. You gotta have some kind of, again, some kind of principles, some kind of guidance and moral ethics. Everything ain't for everybody, and everything ain't for everybody to see, and everything ain't for everybody to share. You know what I mean? I was raised like that, but you know, I have inside jokes and dark humor with my mom and grandma and parents and stuff that somebody else could see and be like, oh, that's out of line. But I wouldn't do that publicly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we have our inside jokes, we have our family dialogue, and we all tight and close. But I'm not gonna get on social media and tell the craziest jokes that my grandma had told me. We was talking about this the other day. My grandma was talking about, well, when I pass, y'all make sure y'all laughing and y'all have a good time. And I'm like, I can't say half of the stuff at a church service that me and my grandma laugh and joke about, right?
Yeah.
But it's in my heart, and I know my grandma is a genuine person. I know she's solid, and I know it's a lot of love there. But you got to have a level of discernment to say, yeah, she is all of those things, and it's all real. You know what I mean? I think sometimes people have this perception that being authentic and transparent mean you don't have no boundaries and you can just do whatever. And if you're not doing whatever and they see you got another side to you, that you're not being real and authentic. And I think
Right.
there can be some truth to it if you just two completely different people, right? You not being genuine to who you are. You show up on camera as one person. You show up to work as one person, but then when you go home, you're a completely different person, right? But there is a level of, that's just, we understand the nuance in that, and it's normal for you to be a certain type of way, and and I won't say a certain type of way because they both are you, but it's certain stuff that you may not share. You may not talk a certain type of way. You may not dress a certain type of way going to a wedding or a funeral, right? You're not gonna wear basketball shorts and a tank top and slides to somebody's wedding or to somebody's funeral, right? But you might wear that at home. Does that make you a hypocrite?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I wouldn't show up to the wedding and be like, oh, you got on a suit, but I just saw you yesterday and you had on a tank top. Oh, you fake. No, the occasion requires this, and I can be authentically me and show up who I am, whether I got the suit on or the slides in the tank top, right? It's not hypocritical, right? So I think those principles, and now with everything being on the internet, we confuse the fact that you got to be one way all the time, and that's not the case. You can be who you are, You can understand the environment, you can understand the arena, you can understand the occasion, and you can navigate both and still be who you are without feeling like that's hypocritical or that you're not being authentic in those situations.
Yeah. I think coming off with that, to add to that, the section you was talking about, I guess it's the emotional challenges of being proven wrong and embracing independent thinking. I don't know how the hell I missed this one, but I want to talk about all the stuff we just talked about, the need for an open mind and independent thinking. You was talking about, the independent thinking constantly challenges our beliefs, question our assumptions, and then willing to accept these new truths. So all the stuff we was just kind of touched on, the need for open-minded, independent thinking. I know my reasons of why I believe it's to be needed, but kind of adding to what we already talking about, like why is that important when we talk about, having principles, being authentically you, and everything else like in life, like why is that important from your perspective?
So I'll take that two parts and say this. I think independent thinking is thinking for yourself, but it don't mean only thinking about yourself, right? And so, at an early age, my pops used to tell me all the time, like, if somebody tell you something, don't just go with it just because they older than you. Don't just go with it because they're a teacher. Don't just, and it wasn't a situation, because he also established a level of respect for authority. Right. And I think, again, you got to have both. Right. Because if you tell a kid and you tell me, hey, think for yourself, but you don't give them the level of understanding of how to be respectful, and they don't have any respect for anything, then they just go off in the world and think, I can do whatever I want because I was taught to think independent.
Shannon told me.
Yeah. And it's not that. Like, you got to have it in balance. But just, again, I think being authentic, being confident in what's yours is going to be yours. But being able to read the room, see different sides, different perspectives. Like, I may listen to something that's super liberal. I may listen to something that's super conservative. I may listen to rap. I may listen to gospel, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I can enjoy both. I can understand both perspectives. I can, listen to somebody who says something from one side that's deemed completely to be the opposite of the other side. And if it makes sense, it makes sense. I'm not really looking. What I've come to learn is a lot of people move that they don't really care about the truth. They don't really care about what's said. They care about who said it and if they like them. And to me, that's the opposite of how it should be. If you say something that makes sense, even though I don't like you, or I don't agree with, and I say that, even though I may not agree with everything that you do or how you live your life, if you say something and it makes sense and it's rooted in truth, and I can verify, I can understand it, I can see that perspective, I'm not going to take that away from you because we have a disagreement or you have something else that I disagree with or don't like, right? And versus somebody else who I could love to death and grow up with, parents, family, raise me, love them to death, but they say something that's completely out of line, or something that I know to be false, or know something that's wrong or leading somebody in the wrong direction. I'm confident enough to disagree with it. I don't have to go along with it because I love you. You know what I'm saying? So I think in terms of independent thinking at its root is being able to take in information, being able to discern between what's right, what's wrong, what's fact, what's fiction, and not taking emotions or taking who you like or dislike as the lens you view and hear everything through, right? I'm able to listen to multiple sides, multiple perspectives, and then come up with my own understanding, my own conclusion based off of all of the information I have. And being willing to be wrong or change my mind or change my perspective if I'm given new information. Like, that's the dumbest stuff that's out there. Right. It's like, you have this set of facts, this level of information, you give an opinion, and then you get new information, but because you already gave an opinion, you closed-minded that you can't. Like, to me, all of that is stifling growth, and it puts people in boxes and makes people more rigid to believe that they can't change their mind, they can't evolve, they can't listen to new perspectives and new information because it may be coming from somewhere that they're not as familiar with, or they don't have an allegiance to already, right? So I think at its core, independent thinking, that's what it looks like for me, is to be able to be open and make my own decisions, and being cool with my decisions, and being cool with you if you disagree. You know what I mean? Like I don't move around in the world thinking everybody got to agree with me, and if they don't agree with me, we enemies and we got a problem. Yeah. I'm perfectly fine with understanding your perspective. That's I had that experience. Sometimes people think that if you don't agree with them, that you don't understand. And my thing is no, I completely understand what you're saying, and I got a different opinion.
I just don't agree with it.
And I don't agree with it. And
okay.
I'm cool with it. And I'm cool with being cool with you after this. You know what I'm saying? So I think as we continue to strive and continue to try to grow and build, different opinions is what we need. I already know what I think. You know what I mean? And if you already know what you think, the only way we're going to grow is to take feedback, have a different set of opinions, a different set of strategies, and then see which one ultimately prevails and which one is best. And if we got a common goal, we should be able to get there no matter whose idea it was. You know what I mean? I'm willing to, if it's gonna help us win and you got a way to do it, I'm trying to win. I ain't the type of person to only want to win if it worked my way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we on the same team, you got a different opinion, you got something I didn't think of, bring it to my attention. Because as I continue to grow and learn more, the more I realize I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the people who learn a little bit and think they know everything that's really the problem.
Yeah.
And because now it's not that you don't know, it's that you think you already know, so you ain't open-minded to nothing else. You know what I'm saying? So
one way.
You know, I try to be open-minded, but I also, you know, if it's something that I know and I know it, I'm gonna be convicted about it, and I'm gonna stand on it, and I'm gonna be strong-minded about it. If it's something, you bring up something about rocket science, I know that ain't my lane, so I don't have to be the expert in the room of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We start talking about real estate, we start talking about my niche, we start talking about something I'm confident in, I'm gonna speak with a level of confidence that can come off to somebody that you think you know everything. Like, nah, but about this, I know
a lot.
You know what I mean? And I'm still open to being wrong, or I'm open to evolving in that too. You know what I mean? But I don't think everybody got to be an expert on everything. You know what I mean? It's okay for you to know about media and social media and content and be a genius in it, like you said. But you got to feel like you got to have that level of genius in every lane, or you not meeting a standard. You can't master everything.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So even in that, like embracing, because we talk about growth and stuff you learn and stuff you don't know. How about embracing that, right? And then learning how to navigate through those challenges that come with it. Because even, you know, I've been in media for almost 20 years. And so now it's parts of me that I have grown and evolved from, and then I'm on to other things. I'm learning about publications and syndicate deals and distribution and stuff worlds I necessarily been in, but I'm learning about. And for you, because I remember we was talking, you was just like, man, all right, I think I mastered this part of the real estate, but I'm trying to go get the bigger projects. So that comes with some pain, and you're gonna fail. So like, importance of embracing that as you grow, you're going to fail. But like, it's been times where I'm just like, I look at my bank accounts, I'm like, dang, like, you know, should I go, you know, do something over here real quick? And then you get away from what you're supposed to be doing, but you know deep down what you're supposed to be doing, but then you have to navigate again and then really embrace the failures, but it doesn't mean it's over though.
Right. No, you summed it up, because that's what I was about to say. I think, you know, a lot of these topics, or a lot of things that we could say it's universal stuff that has been said before, right? I don't fail. I learn from it, the lessons, and as much as a lot of those sayings are cliche, they real. You know what I mean? Because even when you say, hey, you're gonna get started, but you're gonna fail, it's like there's a finality to that don't sit well with my soul and my spirit when I hear you say it like that, even if you don't mean it like that, right? Because when I think about failing, I'm thinking about it's over. You know what I mean? Right. If it ain't over, I didn't fail. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, I think that's what keeps me motivated, and is both ways, right? Like, If you viewing it as a game, I look at it as I'm up to a degree, but as long as it's time on the clock, I still got time to lose. I still got time to fail. I still got time to lose it all, right? But on the flip side, if you feeling like you not where you want to be, as long as it's time on the clock, you still got time to win, right? And so it goes both ways. For me, I don't really view anything I've done as a failure. You know what I mean? I definitely could point to things in my life that happened that didn't go the way that I wanted to go in the moment. But then in looking back on it, I mean, it is lessons, and it is, if you view it as it's part of the journey, that you can't get to the wins without learning some lessons along the way. But those failures, quote unquote, is just feedback and information for you to adjust so that when you do it next time, it works. Right. And so the games that I'm trying to play and the numbers that I'm trying to get to and the industries that I'm trying to maximize and continue to win in, the numbers at certain levels are crazy, right? In terms of my aspirations and things that I see that I think are possible, right? If I don't do it, that's fine. But as long as I'm set on that and I'm working, I got something to work towards. But the way I view it is, if I lose on a project on a couple of $100, a couple of $1,000 here, and I get that lesson off of that, that just saves me money at the level that I know I'm going to. Right. So you may look at it and be like, damn, you lost $3 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand on this deal. And I'm thinking about the way I look at it is, when I start playing with bigger numbers, that just saved me $100,000 because I'm not gonna make that same mistake again. You see what I'm saying? And so I really do believe that's more about mindset. But to me, the way that I'm wired and the way that I view it, I don't really see it no other way, right? Because the only way that I lost the 3-4 grand is if I don't do it again, so it don't save me the 100. You see what I'm saying? If I lost 5 here and saved 100, I made $95,000. Versus if I lost the 5 and then I don't get back in the game to do it up at this level, then yeah, it's over with. I lost 5 grand because I went home and tucked my tail and quit. But as long as I'm in the game and as long as I'm trying to get to another level, and I know at that other level, the numbers, the opportunities, the situation, and again, we talking business, these are all lessons in terms of, if you go to college, you pay a tuition, right? So when you get in business, part of the tuition is you take some of these losses, you pay some of these fees for those lessons, and you take that with you so that when the numbers get bigger and the stage get bigger, you don't make the same mistake, and the net is going to be positive. You know what I mean? So I truly believe that if you view it like that and you know what your vision is, as long as you don't stop, you can't lose.
Yeah. I feel that way. I feel like I know I can't lose. No, I feel like I know I can't. You know, I think somebody said something to me last week that was like, man, your resilience is never, you know, I ain't seen it like that. I'm just thinking in my mind, I'm like, this is what I know I'm supposed to be doing though.
Right.
And I don't think people are going back to the currency and the value, people don't believe in the asset. And the asset is you. The asset is me. Not what I do, is the value I bring, right? And so I think in those moments, like, I'm sure you had those moments early on, and you know, I have them. I have them at times. You know, I'm about to go I'm about to go sell some, you know, drugs or something. Like, I don't get to that point to where I'm just like, I'm done. It might be slow. All right, cool. Market might just need to change where I'm at location wise. I might need to stay within what I'm doing, but then just pivot. So I think in those moments, like, like some of your tools have you used to be like, man, all right, this is slow right now, but I'm gonna still stay on track with what I'm doing. I'm just gonna redistribute how I'm doing it. Like, what are some of them tools you may just pull out and be like,
man, I talk a lot if you get to the portion where I'm discussing timing.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, there's seasons in life and there's seasons in business where you gonna run a different kind of race based off of what's happening. And so in there, and I don't know if we talked about this before in one of our other interviews, but the concept of I'm a Nipsey fan. We talk, and people quote the marathon continues, and that's real, right? In terms of looking at life as a marathon and looking at life that you got to just keep going and keep going. But I talk about in there that you can also view life as a series of sprints, right? Yep. And so a lot of times when it comes to, depending on what industry you in, sometimes it can feel like a marathon, but sometimes it can be a sprint where we running as hard as we can, we going as fast as we can, and then what you do right after you finish, you rest and wait for the next race. You know what I'm saying? And so in viewing life like that, and viewing your industry like that, I was buying houses at one time, back to back to back to back to back, at a pace that was somewhat unbelievable for me, and definitely unbelievable for some of the people that were around me. And some of the concern was like, dang, you gonna just keep buying like that? You know what I mean? But I knew I had a window to go hard like that, right? And I knew once that window closed, the opportunity might not be there. So I already viewed it as, this is gonna be the season when I'm going hard, right? But when it's time to rest, it's time to slow down, it's time to strategize, it's time to pivot. I'm okay to do that. And I went so hard right now that'll help propel me to get to the next season and the pivot and whatever else that I'm looking at. You know what I mean? So I think as entrepreneurs, we had these seasons where we up and we down, right? You might have a month when you first starting out, you doing online, you doing media, whatever, you may make 10, 15 grand, right? Then you have another month, you make 3, right? If you live life and you got bills, like you make 10 to 15 every month, you're going to be in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to understand, this is seasonal. If you can't control it, it's not steady, you don't have a bunch of repeat customers just yet, you're going to have them ups and downs. But being aware that winter happens is okay. Once you understand that's part of it. Like, you're not really doing nothing wrong, right? When you first starting, you like, I had a good month last month. The 2 months before that was good, but then this month is terrible. What did I do wrong? Well, as you get the experience, you may say, okay, this is the natural cycles of the business. You know what I mean? If you're doing photography, you may have a heavy season when you start talking about weddings. Well, wedding people don't necessarily get married in certain months, right? But if you don't know that, you may not understand the seasons of your business yet and think it's something you doing wrong. And now you giving up photography when really, if you go hard in them months and you do your marketing leading up to those months and you get repeat customers and you sending stuff and asking referrals in these strategically in these certain months, you'll get those influxes. It'll be super high in wedding season. You make all your money in these few months. Right. Right? And then you got enough and you put it in reserves because you know these slow months are coming and you understand that, as opposed to, damn, I had a good month. What did I do so good? Some of it ain't you. Some of it's the cycle. Some of it's the season. Some of it's people been getting married heavily in certain months, depending on what side of the world you on, what state you in. You know what I mean? So I think timing is so crucial. And if you miss that time, it can cost you. And if you don't realize when the times change, it can cost you as well. And, recognizing what you can control and what you can't control is very important, because, if you're spending too much time on stuff that is out of your control, you're not going to make the progress that you want to make. You know what I mean? So I think pivoting comes from having a overview and a high level of understanding. We looking at 12, 24, 36 months to analyze how good we really doing, right? And what we need to do differently to make this sustainable, right? We can't look at our best 4 months and say, hey, we got it all figured out, and then leave out the other 8. But we also can't look at 5 bad months and say, oh, it's over. The tides has changed and I need to go into a new industry. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like we said before, you gotta focus. But if you spread out all over the place and you're looking at 10 different things, you don't even get to recognize the patterns. A lot of business is recognize the patterns and adjust, right? But if you're not focused on it, it's harder to recognize. So I think I answered your question in terms of pivoting. I think some of it's not even so much pivoting, it's just understanding the timeline and the time horizon you're working on and being committed to it long enough to see it work, to understand it, to look at it, to strategize with it, to recognize those patterns and then adjust accordingly. And if you can do that, that's more so applying principles to whatever industry you're gonna go. Because I mean, you're gonna recognize there's different patterns like that in different industries, different businesses.
It's definitely, I think knowing your business though is the important part, because then you can, make the necessary adjustments. I don't believe in pivoting your whole concept. If it's something that you gifted in and knowing, I think also it's another thing, knowing what you're good at. Right. I think a lot of people just don't know what they're good at. And this was also a topic because, explaining, I think we kind of touched on man, I'm good at real estate. You're not doing 10 other things. Now you might be doing stuff, you got the real estate, but then you got Airbnbs, you got short-term rentals, but then you got stuff that you're selling, you got stuff that you're holding. Right. But you've created line extension, but it's still real estate. Right. But I had to realize, for me, farming and filmmaking is my two pots, and then I go from there. Some people be doing 10 things and can't, why am I having success? Well, your focus is spread. Right. So I guess maybe it's like a last point is maybe, the importance of identifying what you're good at so that you don't, spread yourself.
I think we touched on this before. I don't remember in which one, but I think I've touched on it, but we need to bring clarity to why that's even much more important. Yeah. And I think it goes even back to a bigger point that you may hear certain people say of what you're good at, but what you're passionate about, right? And then what works. You know what I mean?
What you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what works.
Right. So I think there's different type of people, right? And I think when you get it, I would be lying if I said that real estate was always something I was passionate about and good at, because that's not true, right? But I was interested in it. I understood it to some degree. And then as I got into it and I learned more about it and I understood what it could provide from a freedom side and from a business side and creating opportunities for other people and, freedom to spend with my family and a level of resources to provide the type of lifestyle I wanted to live, I definitely became more passionate about it, right? And so I think sometimes people are too apologetic about doing stuff that works, right? And so it's easier for me to be passionate about something that works. I've found that a lot of times people are passionate about it, but then once they start doing it for money, they lose that passion. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And so, there's a level of,
that happens a lot too.
Yeah, there's a level of, hey, I like farming, I like media, but once I got to start dealing with clients, once I'm forced to do it, once I got to show up and harvest and plant, and you know what I mean? Once it becomes somebody's telling me to do it, you start to lose the passion for it, because what you really liked about it is the freedom it brought for you to take your mind off of work and other stuff that was stressing you out. But once you start doing it to make money or a level of income, and it's not rewarding to you to provide the lifestyle and the freedom you want, now you putting constraints and boundaries on it, and it's not just a hobby you pick up and do whenever you want to do it. Right. You're required to do it, and now you don't want to do it no more because it's changing what you really liked about it. You thought you liked gardening, and then you said, I'm passionate about it. Now I make my passion my job, right? To me, there are lucky people who can do that, right? Who can say, hey, I want to be an actor. I'm passionate about it, and it provides the lifestyle that I want, and I only have to work a certain amount of time. It pays enough money for me to live the lifestyle that I want to live. And at the top, there's probably people who are genuinely like that, right? But I think there's a lot of other people who think there's more people like that, who then feel like any kind of negative feedback or any kind of hurdle they run into or any kind of wall they hit, they thinking, oh, well, I ain't passionate about this, so this might not be for me. I need to do something else. I need to find what I'm passionate about. So then you start going down a quest of different stuff that you wanted to do or as a kid. And, again, there's a unique group of people who can find that, or who don't have certain goals that they want to reach from a financial side, who can say, hey, I just want to, if I got food in the house, I'm good with that. And so they can find a lane where they can live off the grid or do whatever it is that they want to do, and that genuinely brings them happiness. But I think there's a lot of people who want a level of freedom financially who would be better off finding their vehicle to become successful financially, and then use those financial resources to put themselves in a position to spend their time doing things and have the freedom that they want to do things they're passionate about. Right? So if I'm passionate about, let's say I'm passionate about coaching basketball, right? I could either be like, okay, I want to coach basketball and I want somebody to pay me to do it, right? But if my resources, my skill level, my talent level is not there for a school or a college or a professional team to pay me enough to support my lifestyle and my family to coach, then I could be as passionate as I want to. It's not working to meet my obligations and provide me the type of lifestyle that I want, right? Or I can find another vehicle like real estate, like stocks, like business, or get a 9 to 5, whatever kind of job you want that provides the lifestyle, the benefits, the security, whatever is important to you. And then you can go coach basketball for free. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But when we pretend like you can't do these things that are necessary to provide for yourself and your family and your obligations because you only want to do something you're passionate about because you read something or you heard somebody somewhere tell you don't do it unless you're passionate about it, you missing, to me, the necessity and the obligations, especially for young men, to say we got a duty and a responsibility to take care of stuff that needs to be taken care of. And if your passion can do that, more power to you. But if you haven't figured out how to make your passion pay no money, then you may need to do something that doesn't pay that can help you take care of your responsibilities and do your passion for a hobby until you can figure out how to turn that passion into something that can replace the 9 to 5 income that you're making, right? So it's all in that regard about what stage of life you in, what your obligations are. If it's just you don't have no kids, you don't have no wife, you want to sacrifice your standard of living to chase your passion, then cool. But you need to figure out how to allow your passion to help you meet the obligations that you have if you've put yourself in a position to have those type of obligations. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, I mean, and that's a long way of answering that because we've touched on it before, but I think
not in depth though.
Not so much in depth to say passion is great. Passion is great, but proximity and what you've been exposed to sometimes can be like you don't have enough exposure to different things to show you what's possible, right? And I think that's the other thing about kids and just even young adults, getting exposed to different avenues that can help you live the type of life that you want, right? And again, I know somebody could beat me up about what I'm saying and saying, oh, no, if you're not passionate, you don't love it, you shouldn't do it. And it's like, okay, well, let's really look at their life and see what they're passionate about. A lot of times the people who say that became so passionate about it once it started working. That ain't what they was really passionate about at all before it started working. You see what I'm saying? And so I don't want to sell a dream or sell a story that, if you chase your dreams, you chase your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's like, sometimes once your dream and passion becomes work, you don't even want to do it no more at all. You know what I mean?